Welcome to Mind My Age, presented by Total Life. I'm your host, Neelam Brar, and today we have an extraordinary guest, Alan Patricof. Alan is a renowned venture capitalist, investor, and author of the book, No Red Lights. With over 50 years in the venture community, Alan has been instrumental in the early stage financings of more than 500 companies, including giants like Apple and AOL. Beyond his professional achievements, Alan has had an eclectic life filled with politics, art, theater, international development, and athleticism. At 89, he continues to work full-time, maintain an active lifestyle, and pursue new experiences. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, Alan, at Mind My Age, we believe that your mind controls your thoughts, actions, and feelings. Alan, you've exemplified this belief throughout your incredible journey. Let's start with the first question we ask all of our guests. What age do you feel today, and how is that impacting your approach to life?
I feel certainly not 89. I don't know. I think I feel like I was when I was in my 40s or 50s. I mean, and I probably act like that, which is not a frivolous action. It's just that I conduct my life like, a person of that age, maybe even younger. I don't know. But age has nothing to do with how I conduct my life.
Alan, you've had an illustrious career in venture capital and investments. You've had a front row seat to world-changing technology and media companies, and you've lived a very interesting life across politics, the arts, theater, and international development. How have these experiences shaped your mindset and approach to your life today?
That's a pretty expansive question. I mean, I think that, let me say this. I believe that everything in life is cumulative. People have often said to me, how come you can raise a fund in 4 months or 6 months? And I always say the same thing. It's 50 years and 4 months or 6 months. And I think that's a little bit of answering your question. I mean, everything that you are today reflects who you are, where you've been, who you've interacted with, what you've learned along the way. And I'll say again, everything in life is cumulative. So I'm a reflection of having lived 89 years and experienced all the things you mentioned and a lot more.
At 89, you still have a full-time job and you guys are building, you just launched fund number 2. What motivates you to keep pushing those boundaries and creating new ventures?
Well, I gave a talk at one of the leading venture conferences about a month ago in California called the Upfront Conference, about 500 people. And the title I was given from my fireside chat was, "Why the F are you still doing this?" So that's the question you're asking. Why the F am I still doing this? Because I love young companies. I love dealing with struggles. If I wanted an easier life, I'd probably have gone into the private equity business and just dealt with numbers. Instead, I've I seem to be nourished by dealing with the problems of young companies and helping them grow. And not all of them make it, but the few that do gives you a lot of satisfaction.
Absolutely. So let's switch gears into a second part of our topic, which is managing major transitions. Life is full of transitions, both personal and professional. You've had a remarkable ability to manage these changes. Can you share some of the major challenges you've faced and how you've navigated them throughout your career and your personal life?
I really don't look at them as challenges. I've had several transitions. I built my first firm called Alan Patricof Associates, which morphed into the name Apex, which was Alan Patricof Associates International. And at a certain point, early 2000s, I decided that, we had become so big and gone from venture capital into private equity that it really didn't have the same kind of attraction for me as it had when I started out. Almost, you might say, it got bigger than me. So I decided to take off without any particular objective in mind. I had nothing no other activity in mind. I was, I guess, 68 at the time. And I always been fascinated with international development. And I wouldn't call it a challenge. I went down to visit a friend of mine who was running the World Bank at that time and said, I'd love to get involved in international activities. Can you use my services pro bono to help your small and medium-sized enterprise development around the world with the IFC, the International Finance Corp? And it started a 2 or 3 year travel around the world, mostly in Africa, but also in Southeast Asia and Latin America, and helping to foster economic development, entrepreneurial development, or so. And I did that for a few years, not full time. I did it, as the opportunity developed. And then about 2005, 2006, I said, it's time to go back in the venture capital business. So I decided to, again, it wasn't a challenge. I just decided to go back and do what I had done in my earlier career. And this time I wanted to really keep it a small firm, not let it get as big as Apex had gotten. And I focused on the internet and media, which was the hot area at that time. And I did that until about 3 or 4 years ago. Loved every minute of it. And the firm was called Graycroft, which was named after my house. Not people think I named the firm, the house after the firm. I named the firm after the house, which was built in 1896. I decided that was getting too big, and we were starting to change the pattern of activity of investing, because you develop partners along the way, and you have to go with what your partners really want to do. And so I decided I wanted to do something else. And again, I didn't know what I was going to do, but by happenstance, I happened to be introduced to someone through my son, who I was introduced, but I actually knew her, a woman named Abby Levy. And we both had the same interest in older people and this aging demographic, which it was to me really fascinating, because it was the fastest growing part of the population and no investors were paying attention to it. So she had a similar mindset, and we co-founded this new firm, which we call Primetime Partners, because I believe everybody, in their later age in their life, with their baby boomer life, they're really in their prime time. I'm in my prime time. So we set up a firm to invest in products, technologies, and services which serve the aging population, or the ageless population. And that's where I am to this day. And it's been a very exciting few years, and with lots of opportunities. And I can only see this area getting bigger and bigger, because there's going to be more people over 60 than there are under 18 in a matter of less than a decade.
Absolutely. I mean, the statistic is that 10,000 people are turning 65 each day. And Alan, on the topic of transitions, you've obviously exemplified how to age healthy and age with a young mindset. You were also married for 50 years to your extraordinary wife, Susan, until she passed away from Alzheimer's. How did you cope with that profound loss? And what advice do you have to our listeners who are going through similar experiences?
Well, I had, strange word, I had the benefit, but she had Alzheimer's for 12 years. So it's not like it hit me over the head one night. And so you gradually learn to live with it. And if you can ever, really learn to live with it. But I realized that there was an end at some point, and I just took it every day as it came, and stayed, right, actively involved, kept her at home, and I couldn't have done any more than I did to make her life interesting and fulfilling. uh, even though she was in a very difficult stage. And you know, you never know, when someone has this form of dementia or neurological disease, how much they're really benefiting by all the things you do. But I think people, uh, you know, people who are well motivated, just keep trying, and you hope that something's getting through. And so I did that, and I have no regrets. I couldn't have done any more than I did. And when the end came, it was very peaceful and was just very natural. And as you may or may not know, fortunately, I uh, engaged a year or two after that with someone I had known 50 years ago, and just got married 4 or 5 months ago. And so I guess in the world's terms, I'm a newlywed.
And we love that for you, Alan. It's been a great year for you so far. I think you've
Yeah.
celebrated a honeymoon as well.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I guess. Yes. It was a honeymoon,
Alan,
but every day's a honeymoon.
absolutely. I think I'm going to incorporate that into my lifestyle too. Every day is a honeymoon. So, Alan, staying curious and continuing to learn are crucial aspects of aging, and you do that very well. How have you maintained your curiosity and commitment to learning over the years?
I get asked that all the time, and I thought a lot about it, and I can't really attribute it to anything. I can't tell you that my parents guided me that way. I can't tell you that I did anything really in a regimen type that got me there. I think obviously genetics must have something to do with it. And my father did die at 94. My mother died at 86. So they certainly had a long life. And I do all the things you should do. I exercise with a trainer a couple of days a week. I have I I learned a trick, not a trick. My When I started dating my current wife, and when I saw her eating habits, which were so bird-like, I decided that we would split every meal. So that's been a great discipline, and that every meal we're together, we split everything down the middle, and it's been good for her, good for me. Uh, I weigh myself twice a day when I get up and when I go to sleep. And if I've gone more than 2.5 pounds, I usually skip a meal the next day if I can possibly do that. Uh, I walk every place, and I mean every place. Anytime there's an opportunity, I will walk. Doctors, theater, office. I still have an office in Graycroft where I'm chairman emeritus, and I have one at primetime. So I'll walk from one to the other, or just one, depending on the day. Um, and uh, I live a very, very active life. I think more than anything else is I have a very positive attitude about life and living, and about what I do, and look forward every day to the next day. I promised my wife uh, we're going to be married for 25 years, because if you read my book, No Red Lights, which you can get from Amazon, or you can get and hear me read it on Audible, I say in that I'm going to live to 114. So since I got married in 89, I promised her 25 years, and I think she believes me.
Given your recent life-changing experiences like getting married or some really interesting ones like attending Burning Man, you seem to keep it fresh. What's your advice for listeners on how to kind of live that perspective of your best years are still ahead?
I think it gets out of what I've said to you, is have a positive attitude. I think that people who pack it in when they're 60 and go play golf, or move to Florida, or Palm Springs or some other place, and decide that their career's over. They've worked 40 years. It's time to rest. I think the probability of their dying younger than me is pretty high probability. Uh, I think if they keep their mind active, if they keep actively engaged, whether it's in business or writing a book or writing poetry or traveling or learning how to horseback ride or something, I think that you've got to have something that keeps your mind active. They say crossword puzzles, whatever it is, as long as you don't become sedentary.
New experiences and new life challenges or changes can also offer stress at some points, whether it's a new investment that might be complicated or navigating a new relationship. How do you manage stress and those challenges and ensure that it keeps you calm and moving forward?
It's funny. I think I hear people, including some of my grandchildren, who say, I'm stressed. I'm stressed out. Leave me alone. I'm stressed out. I never, never, never would say that to anybody. I've never said it in my life. I can't imagine saying it. I remember when my wife was very ill. One of my daughter-in-laws said to me, "Alan, you must be under tremendous stress." And I said, honestly, I don't feel stressed. I mean, I deal with whatever the problem is, the challenges. Maybe it's because I've been in the venture business for 54 years. It's just 54 years of stress, I guess. So you get used to it. The only time I ever felt stress was in 2001 when I left Apex, when the venture business went through the bubble. That was a really, really tough time because every week there was at least one of our companies that couldn't make Friday's payroll. And it was just no fun to go through that. That was very stressful. But I haven't had that kind of a situation. I hope never have it again. But my wife's Alzheimer's, it was no fun, but I took it on the chin and dealt with it and joined a support group. In fact, I joined a support group and then got very involved with the organization before she died and subsequently. As you know, I ran the marathon. I walked the marathon 2 years ago, and I did it for the benefit of the organization called Caring Kind, which is an Alzheimer's caregiving and support group that I very much believe in. So the answer is I'm not stressed, so I don't know how to tell you how to deal with stress.
In order to maintain your health and wellness while you're doing all of these amazing things throughout your day, what sort of routine do you keep? Like, what are the must-haves that you incorporate into your day-to-day?
I don't know, must have. I mean, I get up very early in the morning. I probably don't get enough sleep. I wish I could say I get 8 hours, but I get probably between 6 and 8 hours, depending on the day. I walk with my wife. When we get up in the morning, we're out usually in Central Park by 7:30, and we walk 3 or 4 miles, come home, then I walk to work. I eat in moderation. I live a very, very interesting life. That's the truth. I'm fairly well known for being double and triple booked in a night, and I've learned the techniques of how to manage that kind of overactivity. I must say it's a lot harder for my wives, last and present, but they get used to it. But I guess that helps to keep me fairly active. I wrote a book. I ride a bicycle.
It is such a perfect mindset to define who you are. So very in line with the title of your book too, No Red Lights. Alan, coming back to your decision to recently get married and your commitment to live 25 more years and celebrate that 25th anniversary, what are some of the future goals you have, both in your relationship as well as professionally, for that next 25 years. Because we at Total Life believe that, your best years are ahead. And we really want our listeners to believe that and start understanding that mindset.
Well, I think in all honesty, I don't really plan. I don't think, I shouldn't say plan. I don't think I'll be working, for the next 25 years. I think that's a little unrealistic. But I do, at the moment, I have no plans to stop. I work full time. I actually go to the office 5 days a week. I believe very strongly in that, particularly for younger people. Not so much important for me, but for younger people, I think it's critical to be in the office and through osmosis pick up what you can from people who've done it before and know more than you do. My plans for the future are probably to work a little less. I'm about to go on a 3-week holiday. I've never taken a 3-week holiday. I don't know if I'll make it. My wife doesn't think I'll make it. But we'll see. I really do have the sincere plans to do it. And, I usually keep to what I plan to do. But I have a whole series of things booked from the second I get back.
Alan, it's so inspiring to hear how busy you keep yourself and how motivated and excited you are for the future. But of course, there must be some days where you just don't want to get out of bed. How do you motivate yourself on those days?
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Neil. I don't have those days. I really don't. In fact, just the opposite. I can't wait to get out of bed, which sometimes pisses my wife off because I'm up and out. But I can't wait to go to work. I can't wait to go to my breakfast meeting if I have it. I can't wait. One of the reasons I love the venture business, I say this in my book, is I keep waiting for the elevator doors to open and the next Steve Jobs to come out. It hasn't happened, by the way. But that's what charges people up in the venture business. Exciting new things can happen at any moment.
What are you most excited about today with the way technology is moving and the new innovations you're seeing in the market?
Well, I can't say I speak from personal knowledge because I'm not a techie, but from what I've seen of artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning, I think it's probably the most dramatic technology development that I've seen in my career. And I've been through every chapter, from personal computers to the internet to cell phones to storage to cloud storage to space, you name it. But biotech I would say, stands out next to AI as being the most exciting new technologies that I've been part of. I've been part of all these things. In AI, I think I will not be part of a platform basic AI company. I think that's a big project not meant for small firms like ours. Primetime Partners 2 will be $60 million in total. It's not meant to take on huge projects, but AI will become a part of many of the companies that we have in our portfolio inevitably. So we'll see the benefit in productivity and speed of everything.
I absolutely agree, and the fact that AI's influence on biotech will just further accelerate the innovation happening in that field.
And age expectation.
Exactly. Podcast is Mind My Age, but AI will also help mind our age over the next.
The oldest person living was 122. That person died last year, so I think the oldest person living now is 119. There is a theory out there that the oldest person living today who will live that long is going to be 150. I don't know if I agree with that, but there is a thesis that based on new technologies and new developments and the way people conduct their lives, and that's possible. When I said I wanted to live 114, it was about 15 years ago when I heard a lecture by a gerontologist. I think if that same lecture were given today, they probably would say 120. But I circled on 114, so I'm not going to change.
Well, I think, the fact that retirement in America is still 65 and there's prospects for us to live until 150, it does beg the question that we as a nation need to redefine what life looks like past 65. And this concept of retirement is very dated. What are your thoughts on how we change that on a national scale?
How we change what do you
The entire notion and like culture around retirement.
I think that's gradually changing. I mean, the concept of longevity and second career and what people do. I think there's been a progress even since I started Primetime. I think you didn't talk as much about longevity or wellness, or people weren't even. We're talking 4 years ago. They weren't exercising much. There wasn't Ozempic. They weren't doing full body scans. They weren't taking nutraceuticals and hormones. I mean, we've invested in one company called Cenegetics, which is a chain of longevity clinics around the country, which does the analysis and helps to figure out if there are ways to slow down or even possibly prevent diseases. One of the things that we haven't got our hands around yet is aging a disease, or is it just an inevitable life cycle?
Alan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. For our viewers and listeners, if they want to tune in and get a copy of your book, where can we guide them?
You can get No Red Lights on Amazon. But the discounted price is very large at the moment, but that's natural for Amazon. And you can get it on Audible. And I actually read the book myself. One of the companies I had started at Apex was Audible, and the president of Audible advised me that I should read my own book, so I took his advice. He said that people like that better. That's why I guess Obama's book is so successful. And a lot of other people.
It really personalizes the book and the thoughts that you've put into that book.
No.
Alan, on that note, final thoughts and a call to action for our listeners to consider the benefits of staying active, engaged in their aging process.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think it's stay active, stay engaged, think positive, and I think that in itself will enable you to live longer. I really sincerely believe that. I think people who are depressed, lonely, negative, unwilling to try things, are setting themselves up for a shorter lifespan. And I'm very much in the positive court. So go out and do something. Even if you don't want to. If you're in the paint business, start another paint company. If you sold your first company, if you've always dreamed of being an actor, go act. I have a very good friend who ran a great advertising agency, and at age 65, he decided to become an actor. And I'm actually going to see him in a couple of off-Broadway shows. And I'm sure that's going to keep him alive a lot longer. So pick whatever it is you want, business or cultural. Get involved in philanthropy. Particularly if you're older, I think one of the things that I would leave people with is, I think there's a lot of talent among older people that's being underutilized, and I think there's a great opportunity to contribute your personal services to whatever organization it is that interests you, and do something. I have a sister who's 78, and she 2 or 3 times a week is teaching a young girl in happens to be in Israel, but that's just an accident. She's teaching her English over I don't know if it's Zoom or over the phone, but and she never. Her career was the publisher of a major magazine chain, but she got involved. Her husband teaches computer skills of how to run a home office in several agencies around the city, and helps people so that they get stuck in the middle of the night and they can't get on Google Chrome. He helps to get them one, and that's recharged their lives. I will tell you.
Absolutely. Even at totallife.com, the therapists are of all ages, and we have several therapists in their 70s and 80s that continue to practice psychotherapy and continue to support people while they're enjoying their later years. They continue to stay active and use their wisdom. And I think that is the future of aging, to stay active, stay engaged, stay happy. So listeners, if you're inspired by today's conversation, visit totallife.com to learn more and sign up for resources that can help you age well. Remember, it's not too late to start taking care of your mental health and staying engaged. Stay mindful, stay healthy, and keep thriving. Until next time, this is Neelam Brar signing off.